Alrighty everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be covering a little bit on the faction tower, which I guess in this game is called the Legend Trial. Each of the different factions has their own tower. Unfortunately, it's only 90 floors, and I wish you could see a little bit more information on them. As in the previous game, AFK Arena, you could see where each of your different friends and guildmates are. So like, hey, I'm on floor 89, my friends are on, floor 90, and some of my guildmates are on like 87 or something like that. And you could also go and individually see what team they use to clear it and such. And so it's just missing that kind of a small quality of life here, and it would be something I'd like to see. As far as the actual Legend Trial itself, the primary resources are these acorns and the hero essence, and so it just helps you to build the characters within that specific faction a little bit faster. They do open up only on certain days of the week, and so it's important that you try to push it as much as possible. There are benchmarks, so it's like every 30, 50, 70 floors in order to unlock the next set of floors. So you have to clear 30 with all of them, and then 50 with all of them, and then 70 with all of them in order to unlock the next tier, is more or less how it went. I think I don't know if there was anything for the 10th floor. I think it was like 20, 30 or something like that in the beginning. I'd have to check my spreadsheet on that. Covering the Lightbearers today, so I'm just going to go through and remove some of these characters and briefly talk about what the different types of characters that we use and what are the basic setups and such that we want to run with this. I would typically run something either like this, or I'd run something like this, and then I'd move this down, just depending on where the enemy is positioned. So Tamisi is trying to tank a little bit, and then you have Corin. He needs to be a little bit higher Ascension in order to tank a little bit. Then Rowan as well, he could also do a sub tank if he could take one of these guys like this, and then that'll help to balance it out a little bit. So instead of using Merrily, Cassidy is also fairly decent here, just because she adds a little bit of AoE to trying to clear different enemies, and so that can kind of help a little bit with Vala if she just needs to get a squishy backline character, or whoever her target is going to be. That helps a little bit. Instead of running Cassidy, for most people I think Lucius is going to be a good solid choice, but instead of Corn for the initial thing. So it would be something like this, and then you would, whoever is your highest Ascension character damage dealer between Merrily, Cassidy, and Corn here is going to be basically your fifth flex pick. Vala as well can be subbed out for one of those three, but I think a lot of people, especially during their first week of the game, they'll have a lot of extra diamonds, and so a lot of people will go for the Vala on the banner. Sometimes you could even spread out the damage a little bit further, do something like this. This also works as well as a typical comp. I actually ran this specific formation at quite a bit. I would swap these two positions. Again, the confining spell is what I use the most, especially in the higher floors, just because being able to get a couple extra little bit of stalling helps immensely in keeping your team alive. It's fun because, there's only one healer for this faction, and so Rowan as well, he's just not the best healer for these types of longer engagements as well. He's good for burst damage, and that's about it. So occasionally I would use the Iron Wall spell if my frontline heroes are just getting absolutely destroyed in the first 5 to 10 seconds. Otherwise, I would run the confining spell in the higher levels, and then actually the Star Shard spell did fairly good because it gets Vala going, and it also gets Rowan going, who can start his rotation, and then he's energy regen as well. So basically that's just prepping all of them, then he goes, and then the rest of them goes, and then it just cycles the machine there. I've heard some people have had success with using Muriel in here, so you could put her in instead of a Merrily here, just because she does a little bit more of AoE damage, but I'd rather just have a Cassidy instead of a Muriel, just because her damage is much more consistent, and she adds a little bit more just because of the buffs than Muriel, which is more of just straight damage, who is still kind of mediocre damage. Let's see, Valen and Walker. Both of these guys are okay, but as far as actual PvE content, they're just not the best for it. That's gonna be about it for these guys. The good old Lightbearers, they're actually my weakest faction. I think they're one of the weakest factions right now in game, just because they lack a lot of utility. Merrily and Born they're all fairly good, but they just aren't universally good in a lot of content compared to some of the other factions. Alrighty, I'll go ahead and end the video here. It's already after midnight and it was a long day, and I will catch and see you all in the next video.